Hey everybody, welcome back to Gardening with the Landscape Connection. My name's Michelle. I live in Northern Illinois, Zone 5. If this is your first time here, welcome. I'm so glad that you decided to join us. If you're here, it's because you want to learn about gardening, and that's what my channel is all about. If you are someone that's returning, thank you so much for coming back. We appreciate your support. And today we are going to talk about planting in this whole bed, clay soil. I know. It is a beast to plant in, but I think I have conquered the beast. So if you are someone that has clay soil, maybe this will help you be able to plant in your soil, because not everything likes clay soil and not everybody has clay soil, but a lot of people do. And if you do, I hope that this video will help you be able to be successful in clay soil. So what is so hard about clay soil? Well, I'll tell you what, it's really thick, it's really goopy, and there's not a lot of air down for the roots in clay soil. When it's wet, if you stick a shovel in it and you start to pull it back out, it makes this really great noise. Kind of does that, I know. It's really super slimy when it's wet. Now, one of the things that I have found with clay soil is I do have to keep it mulched, and I do want to try and hold as much moisture in as I can. I do find that I have to do a little bit more supplement water with the clay soil than I would if I didn't have just clay soil, but I'm okay with that. Maybe 2 or 3 extra times a year is when I have to do that. I also find that if I plant things that I like to call claybusters in clay soil, they seem to do very well. I have had some things that I've planted in here that have done extremely well, that they did so well I had to dig them out because it was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe how big those got. I planted some things in here and they just totally croaked, and I thought that they would do well and they didn't. And then I have other things that are just doing what they're supposed to do, and they're clay busters and they're doing great. So I thought I'd take you through and show you some of the things that I've planted in here. You'll also see that I have holes throughout the bed where I don't have anything planted. Now, part of that is where maybe I pulled something out, but another part of it is where I like to put annuals in, because annuals seem to do okay. You know, annuals pretty much will grow anywhere. I mean, they'll grow in crappy soil, good soil, potting soil. They seem to do okay as long as they get food and as long as they get water. So the annuals that I put in, I go ahead and I fertilize those right along with my pots every 10 to 12 days with like a Miracle Grow. I get my watering can and I water them and feed them, because if I want them to produce that super flower power, which annuals do all season long, because those are your one and dones, they grow all the way through the season and produce flower after flower after flower, and then they're done at the end of the season. You got to feed them so that they can produce all those flowers. Now, I also have a lot of perennials in my bed, but perennials come and go. They come in bloom and then they go out of bloom. So as you can see back here, I have some beautiful iris that are blooming. And this actually started as 2 iris, and they have multiplied over the years. And now I have this big drift of iris there, which actually need to be thinned. So you'll find with perennial gardening, you're never done. You're always changing things. You're always upping your game, or something dies, or you find something that you love and you want to add it to your garden bed. At least for me, that's kind of what happens. And so I'm forever changing out what's going on in my beds. Now, I have anchors that we have all the time. They're my winter interests. You know, they're my evergreens or my tree structures or things like that that stay all the time, and they give me what I call the bones or the structure of my garden. And then I will add things throughout the seasons as I go. Now, there's a lot of rules about landscaping and whatnot, but you know, I think that if you plant what you like and you start with high and you work your way down to low, and you have things that are coming in and out of bloom, I think you're going to do okay. I think as a landscaper, what I used to see a lot of was we would go to do a renovation of a garden bed, and they would have flowers in their beds and they would have bushes in their beds, but everything would be spring bloomers. They would be things that all bloom in the spring, and then they wouldn't have anything for later, or they wouldn't have any winter interest in their garden, or they wouldn't have anything that would bloom or look good in the fall. And it's because when do you go to the garden center? Most people are going to the garden center in the spring. And what do we do when we go to the garden center? We shop with our eyes. We walk around and we look for things that have flowers on them. And that's what we buy. I know this because I'll make an end cap and put all flowering things on it, and all those flowering things will sell. And then the next week I'll put something different on there with flowering things, and all of those flowering things will sell, because that's what we do. Now, then we go home and we plant everything. And so by the time we get to July, when maybe black-eyed Susans or coneflowers or some of these other things are blooming, we don't go back to the garden center. Thus, we're heavy in spring bloomers, not so much summer bloomers. So I like to have a nice variety of spring, summer, late summer, fall, and then my winter interest. Now, I can also up my game by putting annuals in my bed to give me my flower power. Now, let's talk about some of the things that I have planted in the bed so that you can see what I've done and what I have used to be successful planting in clay. Now, I think in an earlier video, I had said that this bed was only 3 years old, and I was incorrect. This bed is actually going into year 5. So we have lived here 6 years. This was the first bed that I put in. And my porch is right over there, and I'll show you that in just a little bit. But I like to sit. It's a covered porch, and it's got like 3 archways that you can look out into this garden. And it's all covered, and it's just great to sit out there at night. You got nice wind movement in there. And this was the first garden I did because that's where I like to sit to chill out after work. I just like being outside, even at night. So I'll read a book there, I'll watch videos or whatever, but I like to sit outside, have a drink. And this is the garden that I look at. Thus, this was the first garden that I put in. So what I basically did was I just cut the sod out. I got my tiller out. I tilled the soil up. I didn't amend it at all. I didn't add any peat moss or any compost, nothing. I just planted right in the clay. So let's talk about what I planted. Okay, so let's talk about some of those winter anchors that you put in that you're going to have the green all winter long. So I used Boxwoods, and the Boxwoods have done beautifully. So I haven't pruned them yet. It's in the 90s this week, so I don't want to prune them and then scorch the ends. So they're just going to have to wait and be a little woolly for a little bit. But I have 3 Boxwoods in here. 1, 2, 3. And these are the winter gems, and I actually didn't prune them for the first time, or I did prune them for the first time. Oh, they must have been in here the 3rd or 4th year is when I pruned them for the first time. And I started off with little 3-gallon cans. So in 5 years, they've gotten this big. I'm not trying to grow a hedge. I don't care if they look like little balls. I just like the nice round. I like the texture. I like the way they look. They aren't sitting where the roof will dump snow on them and create holes in them. So the only thing I've ever had to do with these is I make sure that I water them really good in the winter because evergreens don't have the ability to pull water up into their roots in the winter. So I make sure that they are watered well. I water all the way until after Thanksgiving. Now, if these were exposed to the northern storms, which come from this direction, I would probably spray them with a product called Wilt Stop, and that will coat my needles or my leaves so that it will trap the moisture inside. And so you coat it until it's all wet, and you do that usually the first week in December up here in Zone 5, and that will help them hold their moisture in through the winter. So those are my first ones that I planted, and I really like the way they turned out. They look good, and they do very well. Now, another one that you can grow, and this is a yew. This one is an Everlow, unlike a Densi that gets a lot bigger. This one here needs pruning as well, but when I put this one in, it was a really scraggly little 2-gallon can that was dying in the can, and nobody was going to buy it. So I brought it home and I put it in the ground, and ta-da, there you go. There is my yew. Now, a yew and a boxwood, both of these will grow in sun or shade, but a word of caution with a yew, if you have deer pressure, they do like to eat these, so just know that with the yews. But doesn't it got a nice, beautiful green color to it? I just think it's fabulous. Now, the next ones that I have down here, and these were also ones that were looking really pathetic in their cans. They started in a number 3 or a 3-gallon bucket or a 3-gallon container. These are bird nest spruce. Now, these get this beautiful green foliage on them. They're really super soft. They have like a flat top, and they're round. I don't prune these at all. I just let them grow. They'll harden off and darken a little bit on the color. But these will end up getting probably 4 to 5 feet wide and probably 2.5 to 3 feet tall when it's all said and done. Now, these are a full sun shrub, and as you can see here, these are getting a little bit less sun than they normally would, but they're doing well. They get a good, let's see, the sun comes up at 6. It's getting sun until around noon, so they're getting a good 6 hours of sun. So the bird's nest spruce also did really well in the clay. Then I also have, for an evergreen, we're just going to come over here. This is a white pine. And so these also have the candles that grow on them and the long needles. And I really had to baby this one the first couple years. I had to water it a lot. Now it seems to be pretty established. I do get some needle cast where it loses some of its needles in the winter, but it seems to be doing really well. Eventually, I think I'm going to end up having to probably dig some things out. This is a pretty slow grower, but they say it's going to get 6 to 8 feet wide and probably 2.5 to 3 feet tall. So it'll end up taking up this whole area maybe in 10 years, but right now it fits in there just fine, and so I'm not moving anything. All right, another one that does really well for me, and this is a weeping spruce, okay? And so this one does really well, and I'm going to come around here to the back side of it because my iris really need to be thinned out, but I love the structure of this. I like that it's nice and tall. It's very healthy. Again, the first couple years that I put it in, I had to water it quite a bit. And when I first put it in, the top of it was maybe as high as that window right there. So it's done quite a bit of growing in the last 3 years. So I just think this thing is gorgeous, and it's done very well in the clay, and we've done nothing to them in the soil. Okay, so there you go. A weeping, it's a Norway spruce. So those are all the pines that I have in the bed. So I had the yew, the bird's nest spruce, the boxwood, the white pine, and the weeping Norway spruce. All have done very, very well, and they give me my winter anchors. Now, as we come back over this way, other things that I've planted in the bed that have done really well are hostas. So these are just your white-edged hostas. I have 3 of them right here. I dug these up from my dad's house and brought them over here and put them in. I've got some other hostas over here. But I don't have a lot growing along the edge of the house, and I probably never will have a lot growing along the edge of the house, mostly because I don't like stuff up on the house like that. And if I do put anything, I want to be able to have a catwalk between the house and whatever is planted. I like to keep 2 feet clear, and I have a water spigot right here. So if I want to have a hose here, I don't want anything impeding that hose and being in its way. Okay. Now, the other thing that I've planted that has done really well have been coneflowers. So these are white coneflowers here. And as you can see, I have another one right here, and I didn't plant this one. This one is a seed, probably from this one that came over here and dropped. I hope it's the white one, but it could be a pink one because I have pink ones on the other side. So until it blooms, I won't know which one it is, but we let that just come up. And as you can see here, I have all these bare holes. This is where I had a roseane geranium, and I had 3 of them. And the 3 plants filled this whole area. It was like a jungle, and it didn't look good, so I pulled them out. I ended up planting a hosta here. I think this is, oh my goodness, I can't remember the name of it. It's from Proven Winners. I can't think of the name of it, but I did do a wild berry heuchera here. And then Glenn got me this little sign for my garden. And then I'm going to plant annuals through here. And then here's my little goose. I love my goose. I got him at a garden fair. Every time I walk by, and I just smile when I see him. All right, so here is a nepeta. This is the Walker's Low Catmint, and it's not very big. It doesn't do very well in the clay. I thought it would. I used to have 3. Now I have 1. Any other nepeta that's growing right now is probably 3 times the size of this and has its flowers. This one will end up splaying open. It doesn't do well. I'm probably going to end up digging it out and moving it someplace else. It just doesn't like the clay. So that was fail number 1, was trying to put the Walker's Low Catmint or the nepeta in the clay bed. It didn't like it. But what does like it is this ginkgo. Now, this ginkgo is this big, tall, skinny tree, and I'm torn between keeping it or leaving or taking it out. When I bought it, it was a miniature. And you can see down here, there's 2 trunks. See, 1, 2. And so this big one came up, and it wasn't supposed to do this, but it did. And now I'm trying to decide, do I cut out the little one and keep the tall, skinny one? I don't know. I don't know. I'll figure out by the end of the season what I'm going to do with that, whether I want to keep that or not. But as you can see, the ginkgo does really well in this soil. Other things that do really well in this soil is we have a Wagelia here. I think that's how you say it. And this one is the Sunset Monet, and it's got these beautiful variegated leaves. So even when the flowers are done, you're left with this beautiful foliage. Ha, take that. So you're left with this beautiful foliage. And I love the little pink flowers on there. And when it's done pruning or done blooming, then I'll prune it down. I'll probably take a third of it off, shape it down, and then it'll grow a little bit more. Now, as you can see here, we've got these beautiful dark blue iris. And these iris actually started as 2 little rhizomes that I got from a customer 3 years ago. And they really like the clay because look at how much this has grown and spread to where I actually need to be splitting these. The other thing I did was, see, I have black-eyed Susans here. I have them right here. These are the Viet's Little Susies. They love the clay. There's some more back here. There's more over there. I need to dig them out. One of them's right here now in my Coreopsis. And they're too close to the edge, and they grow so big that they fall over into the pathway. And I've dug them out like 3 times, and every time I leave a little piece, and then I start all over again. So I actually need to get them all out. I need to move them further back into the bed or into another bed. But the Viet's Little Susies, this is the Rebecca. Oh, they love the clay. Another one that loves clay, here you go. This is yarrow. This one is called Paprika. And as you can see, it's red. It's going to be opening here pretty soon. Got a few pieces of it starting to open. Here's one right here. It's got that beautiful red on there. These are purple cone flowers over here. And there's another one right there. And I think there's another one hiding. There he is. He's hiding back there. So I need to dig him up and move him because this yarrow has done really well. So Rebecca, Black-Eyed Susans, great. Now, the next one that I have is Sedum. And so I have a lot of different ones that flank the sidewalk here or the pathway. And they all do really well. Some of them do too well. And I end up having to like rip some of it out. So I love this one. It's so beautiful, but it's pretty aggressive. And so I end up having to rip some of this out just to keep it under control. Back here, I have some oregano. This is the hot and spicy oregano. And as you can see here, this is milkweed. And I know that everybody grows milkweed. And I have to kind of keep it in check. But this is where the monarchs the caterpillars will make their chrysalis on this, and then they'll turn into monarch butterflies. So last year we had 2 on here, and I've had it before, and sometimes you get them, sometimes you don't. But I always like to have it in the garden because this is what the caterpillars eat before they go into their chrysalis to become the monarch butterfly. Isn't that cool? I have a friend that actually, she has like all the stuff to make, but she puts the chrysalis in there and lets them hatch or whatever they do, but it's pretty cool what she does. All right, over here we have Coreopsis. Now this started as a little patch and it's been spreading through here, and I'm okay with that. And then I have some more of the sedum back here. Here we have daisies, and these daisies have been thinning out. These are the little snow-capped white daisies. Over the years, they've been thinning out. I'm probably going to either have to plant some more in here or give up on them and try something else, but they've done okay. Daisies, for the most part, are a short-lived perennial. They aren't always, the best for hanging around forever. This is called the Zagreb Coreopsis. I like it better than Moonbeam. It's a little more dense. It's going to get yellow flowers all over the top of it. And then once it's done, I can cut them all in half and it'll flush again and bloom again. Over here, we have some asters. Okay, so those are the purple asters. They're called purple dome. So those are going to come in back there. We've got some of the coronation gold yarrow back here. And as you can see, this is the shrub that I want to prune. This sand cherry, I want to prune it down. I also want to take out a lot of the bottom foliage. I want to take that down and make it look like a little tree, and then you'll be able to see through it. Some more of the sedum is here. And then we have some more here. This is more of your tall stone crop sedum. This one's called Thundercloud here. And then we have a beautiful peony. And at first, I didn't think the peony would do well here, but it seems to be doing really well. This one's called Bowl of Beauty. And so I just love this. Did you know with peonies, so as you can see here, you have a lateral bud and then, you have this terminal bud right here, this big bud, and then you have these lateral buds. And so one year I did this. It was pretty cool. And I cut out all of the terminal buds, and then all of these little lateral buds opened, and I had all of these littler flowers throughout the whole peony bush. Or you can cut off the lateral buds sooner, and then this terminal bud will get bigger, and then you'll have bigger flowers. And yes, it's true. The ants like them. So make sure if you're going to cut them and bring them in the house, you shake the ants off. All right. Other things I have going on in this bed is, and I'm just going to kind of give you a backup view here. Okay, so there we go. That's what we got so far. There's my archway right there, and then I sit in the porch right over there. Now, these are a daylily here, and these are the white shepherd, and so they get white blooms on it. This here is a false sunflower, and so these are going to get yellow blooms on it. It's the Heliopsis Tuscan Sun, and so this one will have a really super long bloom time, and it's got this beautiful yellow flower on it, and it gets a little bit taller, so you can see it peeking through the bed. Over here, this is a limelight hydrangea, and so I really pruned it pretty severe this year because I found that 2 years in a row I didn't prune it well enough, and I had some pretty weak branches on it, so I needed to strengthen it up. So I did a pretty hard prune on it. So this is a limelight hydrangea, and it will fill this whole area right here. The other thing is, I got some dandelions I'll have to pick out, but this is another area where I like to plant some annuals, and I like to plant some of the taller ones, and I'll use the purple. So I'm actually going to be planting some verbena in here called Meteor Shower. It kind of grows straight up. I'm also going to be planting some gomphrena in here, and that way this will fill this area really super nice. Now, I do have 2 spireas in here that just aren't doing very well. They did okay the first couple years, but they've never been spectacular in here, so I am going to be digging them out and trying something else that I think might do better in the clay. I haven't decided what that is. The other thing I had growing in here is I did have some salvia through here, and that just didn't do well either, and I ended up digging that out as well. Now, one of the other ones that I have in here that does really well in the clay, these are Asiatic lilies, and so these, I believe they're red. And so I had these in another place and I moved them here, and they seem to be really happy here. So I like those. And then down here we have our little quick fire hydrangeas. And as you can see, I have 2 that are small and 1 that's big. They all got pruned back, but these 2 got pruned a lot because I hit them with the plow and I damaged them. So I had a lot of winter damage I had to prune out. And then the other one that does absolutely fantastic in the clay, this is a Baptisia. And this is just the normal wild indigo. Isn't that just gorgeous? Now, one of the things that I do with this is I will, when it's done blooming, I'll cut it almost to the ground, and then it'll get new foliage and it won't be quite as big. But if you want it to stay big, just leave it like that. It'll get these seed pods on it that are kind of pretty. And then here I have a Hamlin grass, and I have another one here that's not doing as well. I'm actually going to dig it out. It's growing into the hydrangea. There's not enough room. I'm probably going to dig up all of this right here and just put something else here a little more closer to the edge that will do better than those are. And then I have to clean up my edges because I have lots of dandelions on the edge. And then the only other one that I have, this is a solar flare. This is also a Baptisia. And as you can see, it's way behind the other one. And it's because I need to prune this sand cherry down. I love the purple foliage of this, and I love the flowers that are on it and the shape. And I like that it creates a little bit of a screen here. But I also have a viburnum back here, a little Korean spice viburnum that I want to get a little bit bigger. So guess what? This guy's got to get pruned down. And now that it's done flowering, it's the perfect time to do that. So as I back up here, you can see the bed here. Isn't that great? I just love this bed. And then, I have my little path here that you walk down. All right. So some things that I'm going to add some annuals right in here. I am going to be using the Petunia Jazzberry. I'm going to be putting some gomphrena right back here, so I've got some height coming back behind this. I'm also going to be putting some coleus in here, so I'm going to be using the pineapple brandy. As you can see, I've got all my stuff here. I've got some jazzberry petunias, and so these are the Vista Jazzberry from Proven Winners. I'm going to use those in the ground. I have a potato vine here, and it's got a nice big leaf on it. I really like this. This one's called the Sweet Caroline Bewitched Green with Envy. I'm also going to be using some alyssum, and this stuff in the ground is fabulous. It gets really big, really colorful. This one is the Violet Night, so I'm going to be putting that. It doesn't look like nothing in this pot, but it'll look fabulous in the ground. Then I'm going to be using some of the coleus, the pineapple brandy. These look great in the ground. That'll give me some height. Here is my verbena right here. Isn't this cool? Look at how tall this gets. All right, so this is called Meteor Shower. And these are going to get, let's look at my tag here. It's going to get 20 to 30 inches tall. So that's about 2.5 feet. So that's a pretty good height. And then we've got the cleomes, and this one's called Senorita Rosalita, and these have really cool looking flowers on them too. I have great luck with these in clay soil. I planted them one year and they were spectacular. And these are also going to get 3 to 4 feet tall. So this is going to be that really nice one that we're going to put right back here, and we're going to have that nice height back there. And then we also have some of the truffle, is it truffalata? It's their perennial or their annual of the year, Truffula Pink, the Gomphrena. And again, it might not look like anything in this little can, but you wait till it's in the ground. Oh my gosh, it'll be fabulous. All right, other things that I'm going to add to my garden bed this year is I am going to put a geranium back in. And I'm only going to put in one though, and I'm going to be using the Boom Chocolata. One, it's got a darker foliage on it, and two, look at the flowers on this up against the foliage. The foliage, it looks great. I don't know why I have so much trouble with that word. I just do. All right, so I'm going to be tucking that one in right there. And if it's anything like the other one, it'll fill this whole area in right here with just that one plant, and I won't need more than that. Then back here, I'm going to plant some of the annuals. All right, the other thing that I'm going to be putting in this bed, I am going to be putting in one of these Lemon Squeeze Prairie Winds. It's a new grass by Proven Winner. And grasses are another one that seems to do really well in clay. So I have had pretty good luck with the grass. And this grass, I'm probably going to be putting it like in this area over here, because it's going to stay here and it's going to stay long term. So it's not an annual, it's a perennial. And that'll come back every year. So I'll have to kind of like place things and then stand back and look at it and see if I like it. All right, then the last thing we're going to add to this bed are those cannas that we started that I was going to put in my friend Tracy's pots. Well, then she decided to get new pots, and her pots were really narrow. So these were no way fitting in those pots. So I have these beautiful cannas here that I want to add somewhere in this bed. And we're going to get those in the ground as well. So I'm going to get everything set up so you can kind of see where I'm going to put it. I'll kind of give you a brief tour of where everything is. I'm going to plant it, get it in the ground, and then we'll water it in. So hold on, we'll be right back. Okay, so we got everything placed. And that's one of the things that I like to do first. One, read my tags so that I know how big things get. And two, I like to set everything out first and kind of just sit back and look at it. And will I be able to see it? What does the layering look like? So whenever you're adding annuals into a spot, you kind of think about what it is that you want to do. So back here, these are going to get about 40 inches high. They might not get that high because they're not getting full sun. They're only going to get about 4 to 5 hours of sun. These are the pineapple brandy, and they are going to be in this background here and have that beautiful foliage, and they're going to grow up, and that's going to look great. The second layer that we're going to have are the Gomphrena, which are going to be through here, and then down below that, we'll have the jazzberry. So we're going to layer that down in between all of the greens and the daylilies that we already have. We are going to put one of the ipomoeas here, which is the potato vine. And then we did another one over here with the two alyssums and then one of the potato vines right there. And then that's where the Asiatic lilies were. So that's when those are done blooming, nothing else will be blooming here. So we'll have the alyssum that's blooming in that beautiful chartreuse from that. And then we have, a pot there and a pot here and another one here that will grow as well. All right, then as we walk through, this will end up being done here pretty soon, and so will this, and so will the iris. And then the black-eyed Susans will start the yarrow. But then back there, that's where I decided to put the canna. So I have a little height coming up back there. Then I also have the verbena back there, and then behind that will be even taller. I have the senoritas, the cleomes. So there'll be another layer back there that will get pretty tall. Then as we walk through here, we'll have the yellow of the coreopsis, the white of the daisies, and then we'll have a little bitty blast of jazzberry right here. These are the vistas, so they'll get and fill this whole order or this whole area in. See, they're going to peek through back here as well. And then I've got the Gomphrena there again. And as I continue down the path, I added 3 more of the jazzberry and then some height behind it with the verbena meteor shower. And then I put one more potato vine right down there. And I do think I'm going to go get another alyssum because I did put one there to fill this hole right here. I think I'm going to get another one and put it right here at the end to fill this hole right by the peony. Because when these are done, I will end up pruning this back a little bit, and then it just looks like a big shrub. But then you'll have other things coming through here blooming as well. I chose to use purple because I have a lot of yellow in this bed, and the purple and the yellow will be contrasting colors and they'll look good together. So as this bed progresses and things are blooming and filling up, I'll give you another little tour later. But that's all I've got for this one right now. I'll take a picture and show it to you in a short of the sand cherry after I get that all pruned up into a little tree. And basically all I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and prune all the way to the main branch, take off all the bottom pieces, and then just head back the top. And what I mean by head back is I'm just going to take off the top third of the shrub and bring it down in size. So there we go. And let me back up here. Isn't that going to be gorgeous? All those pops of color in there. So you're going to have green, yellow, and purple this year is going to be what I'll be chilling out looking at. Okay, so I'm going to get everything planted. I know it's like 90 degrees today, but that's okay. Right now I'm waiting for the sun to go over. It's going to be pretty cloudy this week, so I don't think the sun's going to be as intense as they say, because every day is clouds with that 90 degrees. And as long as I keep everything hydrated, I think everything will be totally fine. I am going to go ahead and plant all of this now. And we're going to get it in the ground, water it in, and then move on to the next project. So if this is your first time here, please subscribe below if you like our video. I hope that you learned something today. Stay tuned for our next video. We're actually going to be renovating a friend's garden that was shade, and now parts of it are sun because a neighbor lost a tree that provided a lot of the shade in the middle of the garden. So we have to go and switch some things up. We'll be doing that in our next video, so stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you for all the new subscribers out there. And yes, I know how to say the word. It is foliage. Thank you so much, everyone who corrected me. Now I know how to say it right. And I'll probably still say foliage every once in a while because that's how I've been saying it my whole life. But I'm Michelle. Thanks for watching. Have a great day and keep on gardening. Bye, guys.